Sports Talk Chicago, here with Jon Zaghloul. Great to have all of you back here with us. Segment 2, and we are going to continue our conversation with the sports radio legend, host of The Odds Couple on ESPN 1000, and the contributor to the Barroom Network, Mike North. Mike, we just discussed Mitch Trubisky, Justin Fields, a great discussion. I want to get your take now. We kind of alluded to this. Matt Eberflus, what the hell has been wrong with him this season?
Well, I'd like to address where the hell Bill Polian is.
Yes, great point.
Well, here's a guy in hiding. He's like Saddam Hussein. He's in a hole somewhere after he picked this whole nonsense, number one. And his junior executives, Poles and Eberflus at Indianapolis, got the gig. It was a fix from the beginning. Period. End of story. Like I said, I'll take a 71-year-old Pete Carroll to coach the Bears for the next 4 years. I'd have no problem with it. He's got more life on the sidelines than most coaches. I'd take a lot of coaches over the guy we got. Yet, their problem is at quarterback, and they know it. They know he's not the guy to take them to the promised land. I think they know either guy is. And they're going to have to figure that out. But I'd rather stick with Justin, and I'd rather stick with Bagent than that. What's troubling is Eberflus looks like an assistant on the sidelines. He doesn't have the command, doesn't have the presence. I think the players sense a guy back on his heels, afraid to lose instead of going all out to win and grabbing for the jugular. I think he does a good job covering for his team, but they also have had much of a mess over there. What still happened to the defensive coordinator? Nobody will even say anything. They said it was a death. Unless he died, okay, then something's not right.
Right.
And yet they hide things. And let me just tell you this. The Kevin Warren hiring after everybody was hired is an unmitigated disaster right now. He doesn't talk when there's a crisis. He was a guy that handled COVID completely ass backwards at the Big Ten. You haven't heard a peep out of him. He was supposed to have more, I guess. I guess you were supposed to have a better idea about the stadium. It's not even on the table. So why the hell was this guy hired? Why was he hired? I mean, what are you trying to do? Why was he hired if he's not going to get the stadium? And what does he bring to the table? Because he doesn't bring leadership. You got a coach that all sorts of rumors about. They said, well, he had a death in the family. Nobody's seen him for 2 months. The media's under lock and key, and he keeps his mouth shut about it. That's not good. So there's a lack of trust up there. I think some of the players have always felt that way. Just my opinion. And I just think that Eberflus, I think he's on as much of a trial as Fields. But when you tell Justin Fields you have 7 weeks, I give him a neutral last week. They ended up losing the game. He fumbles in the clutch. And his weakness was the play call. You have him standing still like Joe Flacco with Hutchinson. But yet Fields, if you know, and Bart Starr said this back in the day, you always look for one guy on defense, on every defense that can hurt you. Whether it's Butkus, he said, Nitschke, Reggie White, Lawrence Taylor. Now, if you're watching on Sports Talk Chicago and you're watching my face, of course, Hutchinson's over here. They call snap. And Fields is just looking over here like nobody on this side is over there. He doesn't see him. And if he sees him, he can roll out. It was a horrible play call, and he was unaware of the sack. Then he fumbles, and I almost lost the cover. I had the Bears plus 7.5. Thank God for Darnell Wright kicking the ball out of the end zone, because that would have been the worst beat of my life, my friend. I felt good about that. At least the Bears covered.
Right. Yeah. Do you think, Mike, at the end of this season, Matt Eberflus is going to be gone, right? There's no way he could survive.
I'm not going to say that.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not going to say that. I don't know if Poles is going to be gone. I don't know if Eberflus is going to be gone. They took over a mess. That's what they'll say, but they created the mess. Who got rid of Montgomery? Who got rid of Roquan Smith? I mean, don't tell me they wouldn't want either one of those guys back. I know that the Bears played well last week, but come on. You want those guys back. You know, we didn't just lose Mitch, who was a winning quarterback. We lost Roquan Smith, and we lost David Montgomery. We lost 100 a catch-a-year receiver in Allen Robinson, who stuck around and bragged that it would be great to play with Fields and ended up with 36 after Mitch threw for 200 catches, but Mitch was a bust. This is my point.
Right.
You have a receiver that caught 200 balls in 2 years from Mitch Trubisky, and he caught 36 off Fields. And then who was shuttled along? He was. Period. So DJ Moore, I like. I think Marvin Harrison is the guy I would take. I don't care. I could think you can build from the trenches and the draft from that point on, defense, offense, but you got to have a superstar. You want that new stadium if Warren ever gets off his dead ass. You want that stadium? You got to start bringing in some players, some name players. And Marvin Harrison is a difference maker, in my opinion, John.
Mike, you bring up a great point about the stadium, too. And, I mean, at the end of the day, it's the Chicago Bears. I get it. Huge brand, huge opportunity, big fan base. But do you think this season has maybe sullied some of these stakeholders? I mean, this has been a train wreck of a season from off the field stuff, on the field stuff. Mm-hmm. Things going on that are going to be different at the end of this season. Do you think all of that has hurt the Bears' efforts in getting a new stadium?
Well, I'm just hearing there's tax things now and everything else. Well, that's normal, usually. But I went through this with the Bears before, and they ended up at Soldier Field. And look at the monstrosity that place is. You can't get to it. It's the Jetsons meet the Flintstones. To leave, it takes 2 hours to get home. It's just a bad place. It's a bad viewing area, I believe. And it's an ugly looking white elephant. That's what it is. This town can dress it up all they want. If I owned the Bears, I would already have land, and I would already have a new stadium getting ready to be built if I was worth $5 or $6 billion. And if I had and that's a $6 billion franchise, I mean. So I would only invest because it's worth that $5 or $6 billion. And don't think it isn't. Don't read Forbes. People would pay $6 billion for that, for the Chicago Bears, folks. The standard bearer of the National Football League when it comes right down to it. The founder of the league owned that team. It's a proud franchise. And I'd have a new stadium site already. I'd probably clean a lot of house next year. I'd have Harbaugh ready to come in if I could. I'd offer him a percentage of ownership because here's what I want everybody to understand. If you give Jim Harbaugh, see, they say you can't get Harbaugh. I could get anybody I want. I got the money. And I could talk him into it. I know Jimmy. Jimmy, you know how I could talk him into it? I'd give him part ownership if I owned it. I'd give him 1%. Oh, people go 1%, Mike. Come on. Should have a blackboard for the people that can't follow along. Don't you think, John? Are we okay?
I think that'd be helpful. But that's okay. We're good.
So it's a $6 billion. It's a $6 billion team. 1%, $60 million. Plus your salary of like $7-8 million a year. Your ownership will only go up from $60 million. You only get 1%. If he says, well, I want 3%, I go, okay. If I own 100%, that's 97 for me. That's if I owned it on my own. Then I have Harbaugh in place. And then the stadium's being built. Instead, now I'm hearing by the time the stadium's being built, okay, there's a good chance that somebody's going to be saying, and Mike was a good man. He had his problems. Yeah. I mean, we might not get a new stadium till 2035, 2040. De Niro's kid will be a star by then. Forget about it. So I go day by day, John, with this crap. It's a bunch of BS. The stadium is quiet, though. That stadium talk is quiet. And we should have heard something.
I couldn't agree more. Mike North still with us here on Sports Talk Chicago. Make sure you follow Mike North, by the way, at North2North on Twitter. Hit him up.
NORTH, number 2, NORTH, folks. Come on, I have a funny line every so often. Stick with me.
He does. And Mike, before we finish up, want to get into some personal stuff, talk about what's going on with you. Got a couple of minutes left. The Raging Mouth documentary, so that came out with the Ballroom. I know it's on YouTube now. How did that go? That's exciting.
Well, it's going for the first 2 episodes, and then Aldo Gandia had health problems. He's had some health problems, and he's undergone a couple surgeries, so we have tabled that for now. It's just like making a movie. If the director's not feeling well, but he's back on the mend. But we had planned to finish it all before the Bear season. Now we're busy on the bar with all the Bear stuff. So we're going to keep that on. Thanks for asking, John. We'll reconvene that with the fine folks at Rowell Jewelers after the Bear season, which will end shortly and abruptly as usual.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm still doing my show. In fact, today, I don't know, it's going to air tonight. We're doing the Thanksgiving Odds Couple edition podcast today, and then it will be played on the weekend and stuff on ESPN 1000. My wife has decided to keep me around, sign me to another 3-year extension. For a while, I was on 1-year extensions. I was a little bit like Mark Grace, but so everything's good. The dog is having fun, and you're doing good. So everybody's healthy, and that's it. The Bears still suck. That's it. Nothing's changed.
Right.
Man. And I want them to be good. That's their number one thing. I don't care if Fields ends up going 6-0 and somebody goes, see, Mike? I'll go, yeah, okay. I'm wrong for the first time since before Cutler. Okay, good. But you got to show us. Got to show us.
What's the worst Bears team you've ever seen? Does this one size up at all?
Oh, yeah, as far as the clutch stuff. Yeah, we've had chances to win games in the fourth quarter. The Denver game was a haunting.
Yes.
That was bad. As bad as this one. So you can't have, that's not an accident. You may have an accident with one, but with 2, games like that. I grew up loving the Bears. I want them to win. I want them to do the right thing. I'm friends with a lot of the former Bears. I'm sure everybody feels the same way, but I've always told the truth. Somebody says, why aren't you on some of these shows? Well, that ain't going to happen because, like my wife told me, you're just too damn honest for your own good sometimes. But that's why I'm still here. I made my bones this way. I'm not going to back off, and I'm not going to let the public intimidate me. I mean, we have teams making decisions based on public pressure. Screw that. If I would have succumbed to public pressure, I wouldn't have ever made it on the radio. He's a bum. He's this. He's that. And half of it might have been true, but I always believed. And I don't know if the Bears have that belief with this current makeup of certain members of the team. I like some of their draft picks. It's interesting. Some of them that are shining, like Komet, are Ryan Pace picks. Very interesting. Very interesting. And they decide to stay with Justin Fields. This regime, if Mike North comes in and they go, hey, Mike, you're the owner. Mike North doesn't tell the new guy, the new GM, you got to keep the quarterback I have. Do you think we could win with Fields? Because I keep hearing, well, Poles inherited him. No. Poles decided to keep him. That made him Poles' guy. Period. End of story. They could have told him goodbye. But they got agendas over there. And Justin Fields is at the top. If I drove a Chevy like Justin Fields drives it, I'd drive it in the ditch. And if I went to Dunkin' Donuts and ate donuts like Justin Fields, I'd forget about the donut, it'd be stale in 3 days. What I'm saying is they got everything. Chevrolet, they got everything wrapped into this guy. So he's the greatest since Unitas, no matter what. It's too bad I make sense, isn't it, John?
Well, that's why I bring you on the show.
I know. I
tell you, I hear some of this stuff. I see some of this crap on Twitter, all over social media. I can't take it. I need somebody to come on here and tell me the truth.
You know what I call them? The usual suspects.
Yes, exactly.
We love Cutler. They were the ones, the media, and they're still here. I mean, I hear about this Peter King guy. You're around 40 years for a reason. Okay? You've been a great massager for the league. Okay? And I'm not taking anything away from the man, but he's swamp. He'd be considered the swamp of the NFL. The same with Florio. The same with a lot of these guys. They're all paid by the NFL because they got gigs with the NFL. Period. See, this is why I lasted 2 years on the NFL Network. I was on for some of their top 10s. I was picking a lot of Bears anyway. That's it.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for joining us here today. This was amazing. Great injection of truth into this discussion. And I'm looking forward to doing this again.
Way. Right?
What was that?
Truth, justice, in the Chicago Bear way.
Exactly.
You can't massage a broken back. You can only massage a sore back, folks. And right now, the Bears have a broken back. So let's figure it out and try to win a game. How'd you like that analogy, pal?
Mike, thank you so much, man.
You're welcome, John. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yep, same to you. We'll stay in touch.